A recent study by Google, Temasek and Bain projected that the value of Indonesia's digital economy will more than double in 4 years' time, or by 2025. But what challenges and issues does Indonesia face in order to expand its digital economy? Well, to talk more about this, I am here with Google Indonesia's Managing Director, Randy Jusuf. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Right. So as I was mentioning just now, Google itself has projected that Indonesia's digital economy will more than double in 4 years' time. Could you explain to us the drivers behind this projection?
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's definitely something that we are super excited about in this report. Probably allow me to give a little bit of a context in terms of the details of the components of that, and to your question, the drivers of that.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, Indonesia digital economy represents about 40% of Southeast Asia's digital economy. So it is already the largest.
Right.
But what's exciting this year is that, first and foremost, like this year, we projected doubling. And that is an increase of projection versus what we projected before. And that's driven by e-commerce, which accounted for more than half of the digital economy that we estimated. The other element being ride-hailing, transport, online media, and online travel.
Right.
So first of all, Indonesia is the largest and one of the fastest growing in Southeast Asia. In terms of the drivers, I'll look at it. The report talks about two elements of that. First of all, in terms of more internet users, more users coming online. So we spoke about how 21 million more internet users since the pandemic coming online for the first time in Indonesia. And I think out of that 21 million, 72% comes from non-metro areas. So you also have new internet users coming from the smaller places. And last but not least, 9 out of 10 indicated that after the pandemic, they want to continue to use digital services. So I think that is extremely exciting. So the users are coming online, and they're using more and more services, and they are stickier as well. Last thing that I probably mentioned, we also did a survey on the digital merchants that are using digital internet, and we found that 28% said that they wouldn't have survived the pandemic without having digital internet. So I think that shows the importance of digital in terms of Indonesia's overall economy.
Right. So are you saying that the growth of Indonesia's digital economy, especially this year, has been due to the pandemic? Has there been a change in behavior?
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, as we all know, during the pandemic, a lot of us have to work from home.
Okay.
We have to study from home and whatnot. So that certainly creates a change and behavior,
right,
just out of necessity. And as I alluded to earlier, what we found interesting, so because of that, we have all the stats that I mentioned earlier. How many new people coming into the internet? Not only that, 80% of the people who first time come to the internet actually use digital services. But the survey also asks, to your question, post-pandemic, would you continue to use digital services? And 8 out of 10 are satisfied, and 9 out of 10 indicated they would like to continue to do that. So definitely from the user standpoint, and I alluded to also from the merchant standpoint. Again, this study, we surveyed more than about 3,000 digital merchants, and they indicated that they 28% in Indonesia wouldn't have survived without without internet, and then a lot of them will continue to use digital payment and other forms of tools and services related to internet. Absolutely.
Right. So you were saying that there is a change in behavior in terms of transactions during the pandemic. People are sticking more to digital transactions and things of that nature. But do you think that also Indonesia, there has been an improvement in the infrastructure and kind of the services offered in the digital economy?
I would say, Krishna, two parts. First of all, even prior to the pandemic, there's always been a steady good progress in terms of the levers that we look at that are important in order to move an economy to a digital economy, so even before the pandemic. But obviously, as we've been speaking, the pandemic accelerated those. So if I may give a couple of examples, we've been highlighting the report for a couple of years about 6 key elements that are critical for Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, in order to move faster and achieve the size of digital economy that we've been predicting. And that's ranging from internet access, payment, funding, consumer trust, logistic, as well as talent. So out of these 6, we believe that we've made significant progress on 5 of them. We're not fully there yet. The only one that we still have to continue to work on is on increasing on the talent side, whether it's quantity, quality. But we've made progress on all the 5 elements that I mentioned on trust, access, funding, payment, and logistic.
All right, so of course, talking about talent, you're saying that's still lacking in Indonesia. From Google's perspective, of course, you've also trained talent in the digital economy. How do you see Indonesia's digital talent pool?
Yes. There's been studies on this. So McKinsey has done a study that explicitly stated that, and President Jokowi himself mentioned about it. As a country, we need about 9 million or so digital talent in the next coming years, 2030, 2035, give or take. So we still have a lack in terms of quantity of digital talent that we need to continue to add as a country. Now, the way we look at it, one of the things that is very important for us is inclusivity. So when we look at how we want to help and participate in improving digital talent of Indonesia, we look at the whole slew from somebody starting from their just primary school. So we have a program on that. Our Google.org organization has a program that we partners with an NGO called Bebras to help teaching computational thinking, because that's a very basic. So that's starting when someone was still in primary school. Another element, if you're already a business person and you've been doing mainly online, you need to move online, as this pandemic highlighted. So we have a program called Gapura Digital, which we've trained more than 2 million merchants, and a high percentage of that being women. And a third example, and I can talk about this on and on, but just a third one that I will also highlight, obviously on the developers as well. So we have specific programs that we run, whether it's for cloud, for Android, and whatnot, to help increase not only the quantity, but also the quality of developer skilling. And programs such as Bangkit that we actually do together with Gojek Tokopedia, and Traveloka, and we work closely with the Ministry of Education, Research and Technology and Culture as part of this Campus Merdeka program to give specific skill like cloud, Android, as well as machine learning to some of these. So I know I spoke quite a number of things, but what we wanted to do is to ensure that we participate and try to help out in different elements of digital skillings to help the country move forward.
So as you mentioned just now, it's very important to have this kind of level of basic understanding and sort of digital skills from a very young age. So how do you assess that among Indonesia's digital talent pool? Is there a good basic level of understanding in digital skills, or can it be improved?
Yeah, it certainly can be improved. I mean, that said, I would say, digital and internet it wasn't invented yesterday, but it's been around for a while. But it is still something that's at the forefront. So I would say, most countries in the world would, even advanced country would still say there's still rooms to improve with digital skilling. So that is, I think, stating something that is the obvious. But what I alluded to, I'll come back again to the point about being inclusive. Being inclusive across from primary school, from whether you're a current small medium business owner, developer, as well inclusivity with regards to women. So therefore, that's another part that we pay a very close attention to. The Bangkit program that I mentioned, where we work together with Gojek, Tokopedia, and Traveloka, about a third of them are women. The program on SMBs that we mentioned, we also have about a third of them being targeting towards women entrepreneurs. So the other additional point that I would say, yes, absolutely, we have rooms to improve digital skilling, but it's not. We have to make sure that the tide leaves all boats.
Right, but of course, Indonesia is home to many to many startup unicorns.
Correct.
A lot of successful startups in Indonesia. So there must be something about Indonesia and Indonesians, that is very good at the digital economy. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah. Well, other than the obvious thing that we are obviously a big country. Aside from that, you hear this a lot. we do have problems that needs to be solved. I mean, there's still a lot of inefficiency here and there, right? With regards to whether it's, purchasing stuff, options, e-commerce, logistic. That's, if you read through all the articles, that's how, if you listen to some of the founders of the unicorns, they really are thinking through, why are we doing this? We are doing this first and foremost. We want to use technology to solve real-world problems. So in Indonesia, we still have inefficiencies or problems, however you want to call it. And the emergence of technology, I think, enables a lot of the unicorn to be able to solve those real problems. And I think those are, in my opinion, I think serves as a strong basis as to why we have so many unicorns. These are real problems, and we have technology to solve them. And obviously now with the, with the access and digital skilling that I mentioned, we have more and more folks getting more familiar with the tools and then the ability to do so. And I think that those certainly helps. And of course, the report also speak about the funding, the interest from other places, dry powder and things like that, in terms of funding that also help obviously fund the growth of these startups, who a number of them became unicorns.
You were talking about the issues and kind of the problems faced by Indonesian startups. So what are those issues actually in Indonesia? What is the biggest issue faced by Indonesia in terms of expanding digital?
Yeah. Again, I would probably come back again if the 6 levers that I mentioned.
Right.
The biggest issue still evolves around talent.
Right.
So that's one thing that is, we are making progress, but we still need to work on that. That said, in this report, we also provide a perspective in terms of not only up to 2025, even all the way to 2030. Southeast Asia overall, we said it could hit up to $1 trillion digital economy. Out of that $1 trillion, Indonesia could be 230 or 330, so it could be up to 5 times of the size of it is today. And we also speak, again, talent is definitely something that still needs to be worked on, but we've already spoken at length about that. But you also spoke about the importance of inclusivity, of which I touched on that a little bit. And of course, the importance about, environmental sustainability. That's another thing that we spoke about. And last but not least, about data infrastructure and regulatory, having all those data infrastructure and regulatory that are, smart regulations that are open cross-border and very supportive of the digital economy.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about inclusivity. Now, previously you were also talking about women in the digital economy.
Sure.
In Indonesia itself, how do you see the role of women in the digital economy? Is it big enough, or could it be better?
Definitely we could do a lot more. So hence, I come back again with the stats that I've been mentioning. While, again, I'll probably use an example of the Gapura digital program, which is it's part of our Grow with Google program, where we specifically targeted small, medium business owner, especially and including, I should say, women entrepreneurs is part of what we call Women Will. So I'll quote an example. So for example, we had a partnership with the Trade Ministry, of which we try to help the eastern part of Indonesia to make sure, we're talking about inclusivity, right? So it's not inclusivity of gender, but also inclusivity of different parts of this huge country that we have as Indonesia. So in that program, we look at also the eastern part of Indonesia, NTT, Lombok, and those areas. And there's a very inspiring example that I read about an entrepreneur, Novia Novita. She's an entrepreneur, 26-year-old in Lombok, selling flour, heavily impacted because of the pandemic, because her business was primarily offline. But through the program that we provided with Gapura Digital, she was able to kind of learn different skill set in order to help reach consumer using Google My Business and other things that we have, and really help her also moving her business and to be online as well, in addition to offline. So those are just some small examples, but I think it's very inspiring for us. But there are still certainly work to be done in terms of inclusivity.
What is the biggest issue faced by women in Indonesia to join the digital economy?
I think even aside from digital economy, we actually did a study, I believe several months back, as part of our Women Will program, where we actually surveyed both men and women in terms of how do they see even their roles, at home and whatnot for those who are married, for example. And still quite a higher percentage of them see, I don't remember numbers off the top of my head, but there's a higher percentage of women, for example, when asked the question, who should be taking care of things like cleaning the house and whatnot.
Sure.
Higher percentage of women even say that, no, it is our job versus a lower percentage of men. So I think first and foremost, so there's those kind of, first and foremost, forget about skill for a second. I mean, in terms of the mindset, we still want to instill that, hey, taking care of kids or household is a job, is equally a responsibility of a man as well as women. So first and foremost, those kind of efforts to ensure that the mindset is there. And of course, I've spoken at length as well as about the various initiatives in terms of skilling that are required to make sure that they're as inclusive as possible, that the programs that we run also include and deliberately ensure that we also have a strong representative of women as well.
I also want to go back to earlier you were saying how Indonesia's digital economy, it is 40% the value of the other digital economies in Southeast Asia. So when you compare Indonesia's digital economy to other countries in Southeast Asia, what kind of advantages do we have against them?
Well, first of all, to state the obvious, obviously we have the size of the economy of where we are with the population and whatnot. The other thing, I would say advantage also, the other thing that I would also allude to, there's also a strong recognition and support from the government and the regulatory in terms of the importance of the digital economy. I mean, we were very privileged, for example, to have President Jokowi himself attended our Google for Indonesia event last year, where he mentioned about the 9 million digital talent that we still need going forward as Indonesia. And he specifically gave a lot of examples with regards to, the regulations that are helping grow the digital economy. We've seen there are conversations about how to make Indonesia Stock Exchange more rules and whatnot are more friendly in order to have more unicorns or startups, I should say, list locally. So there's a lot of these things that you see, which to me speaks volume to the not just intent but actions from regulators, from folks to recognize and then actually take actions to help create the infrastructure and help with the regulations, which is key to the three things that I mentioned in addition to talent, right? Inclusivity, ESG, and data infrastructures and regulation. So that is also something that I'm seeing a lot of good progress as well.
All right, so there is progress from the government as well, a lot of initiative.
Correct.
A lot of will. Now, just lastly, from Google Indonesia itself, what does the future look like for Google Indonesia? What kind of actions and steps are you guys taking, especially to support the growth of Indonesia's digital economy?
Yes. Well, first of all, we are extremely excited with the resurgence and the potential that digital economy that Indonesia has, which we have spoken at length, potentially doubling by 2035 or even a lot higher than that by 2030.
Yeah.
There are many things that we are doing. First and foremost, I think we believe the tools that we have, I hope everybody's using, Google search, watching YouTube, Google, all the workspace, all the tools that we have fits with our mission of Google, which is to organize the world's information and make it universal, make it helpful and useful. So we hope that the tools that we have already used continue to be helpful, and we believe so. I think YouTube has a lot of educational content. We have more than 100 million people in YouTube and whatnot. So first and foremost, our tools.
Yeah.
The other part I've mentioned at length, so I'm not going to repeat all of them, in terms of the specific initiative that we have to help Indonesia to be ready in terms of talent in this digital economy on our programs for primary school kids, for developers, for startups, and of course for small and medium businesses.
Yeah. All right, so there's a lot of things that are going to be done. Also at the government level as well, and also from the public, the interest is huge in the digital economy. So Randy Jusuf, thank you so much for your time and talking with us and giving us all your insights. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.